Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable and the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions of all varieties. We have these amazing resources with RICO 12, and we're going to jump right into what we're doing. We are going to be starting chapter 3 in the Big Book today on more about alcoholism. But before we get into reading and everything, I want to introduce and have you hear just a few things from the people that I'm sitting around this virtual roundtable with. I've got Nikki M and David G with me. Nikki, why don't you take just a second and say hi and introduce yourself today?
Hi, I'm Nikki M, and I'm a discombobulated member of many fellowships because I got the time wrong for this recording this morning. But you know what? It's such a great opportunity for me just to pause and relax and get really just centered while you guys introduce yourself and you read over me, and I'll be ready in about 2 seconds to get right into this. Thank you.
Love it, Nikki. Thank you. David, you're up. Share just a little bit about yourself.
Your service as always, and thank you, Nikki, for your humbleness this morning. My name is David G. I am an alcoholic and an addict of many sorts from Oklahoma. Grateful for a recovery date and SA fellowship of October 1st, 2019, and a sobriety date in Alcoholics Anonymous of August 8, 1994. Very, very grateful to be at the round table this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I'm Justin B. I'm a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict, and I am a mess. But I'm grateful to be here living in miraculous recovery and blessed to be the moderator of this roundtable. All right. Today we're going to jump in, like I said, into chapter 3. The last little while, we've gone through the doctor's opinion, all the forewords. We've gone through there's a solution. We've gone through Bill's story. We've gone through all of these different things, and we're now jumping into chapter 3, which I'm excited to get into. We're going to read today in the 4th edition of the Big Book, starting on page 30. And we will, at the top of that chapter, and we will read through page 31. It hasn't done so yet at the top of page 31. So I'm going to get into this and start reading. Grab your big book, pen, highlighter, paper, whatever you need to take some notes, and we're going to dive in. Here we go. Chapter 3, more about alcoholism. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think that he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step of recovery. The delusion that we are like other people or presently may be has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. We are like men who have lost their legs. They never grow new ones. Neither does there appear to be any kind of treatment which will make alcoholics of our kind like other men. We have tried every imaginable remedy. In some instances, there have been brief recovery, followed always by a still worse relapse. Physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree that there is no such thing as making a normal drinker out of an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet. All right, these are some powerful phrases in here. So many of them are things that get hammered into a newcomer over and over as they're starting the steps. But I'm excited to get into this and hear what your experience, strength, and hope is. Nikki, why don't you talk to us just a few minutes about what we read there and some of the things that jumped out at you?
Okay, thank you. I've taken a breath and I'm so relaxed and right here. It's just great to be at the round table. Thank you, David, and thank you, Justin, for just loving me. And there is so much in here. I don't know where to start because the reason I was late, I was talking to a fellow. He called me this morning. And what did I scream at him? You better smash the idea that you're like other people, but let's roll right up to the top more about alcoholism. This could say more about life. This could say more about addiction, more about acting out, more about your your mind soul problem. I mean, it's more about who you are, Nikki. And most of us have been unwilling to admit we're real addicts. How about most of us have been unwilling to admit we have a problem? Especially if you're coming from the rooms of codependency or Al-Anon, it's everybody else. It's everybody else. And no person likes to think they are, forget bodily, they're different. We all want to, I've been programmed. Let me talk from I statements. I have been programmed to think that if I do not fall in line to look like everybody else, especially those images on the tell-lie vision, I'm not okay. See, I am different from my fellows. I don't like to think that, but I am. I'm different from the type 1 and type 2 that we read about on page 20, a few pages back. That is, I can take it or leave it. For sufficient reason, I can stop. So it's not surprising that my thinking career has been characterized by vain, useless attempts to act, if you're a drinker, use, think like other people. See, I keep doing the same thing over and over. Insanity. The idea, which is a lie, that somehow, someday, that's insanity. I will be able to control and enjoy my thinking. What does that mean, Nikki? I don't think again. I think, what does the book say? Why? Because I have an obsessive mind. And it's the great obsession that one day I can go out and be like everybody else. See, the persistence of this illusion, which is a lie. Remember, I can't differentiate the true from the false, is astonishing. Many, everybody, people in the back, it says many. Many what? Many addicts, many people, many humans pursue the delusion, the lie that they will somehow, someday control and enjoy this life without God is insanity. It's full stop. And you guys know, I say it all the time, and this is why I get real crazy about it. My mother lives in my home forever because her husband of 25 years took a pistol and did the unthinkable in front of her. And you know he didn't die right away. They had to land the helicopter in the street in Bullhead City, Arizona, and he was not dead. They landed it in the middle of the street. So I don't mess around here. Many die. Many. So I need to remember I have a seat here at this table for life. So I had learned that I had to fully concede to my innermost self, not to my mommy, not to my daddy, not to my boss, not to David, not to Justin, to myself, that I am a real addict. And that this is the first step. See, that's my first step. Every day, the delusion that I'm like other people, every day has to be smashed. I need to wake up and smash the idea. And I've gone deep with this, you two. I am not like anyone on this planet. No one. I'm laser designed by the creator of the universe. I'm different. And I used to think that was a bad thing. Now I know this is a gift. I smash it every day. See, we addicts, men and women, I've lost the ability to control anything, to control anything. And I'll never gain that ability. You know, I want, you know, David can break this down. We could sit here for hours, and I want to give, you know, this is just a swim through, but I do love this. You know, I gain control for a while. I start acting normal. You can start getting things back, everybody. But these intervals are brief, and it's followed by less control, meaning I'm in the grip of this progressive illness, as we've talked about. Oh, well, here it is. It's going to be down here. And I'm in pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. Everybody think about that. Pitiful and you cannot comprehend that you just did that, Nikki. How can you do that? Well, shit. See, I'm convinced that a woman of my type, I'm in the grip of a progressive illness. My thinking gets worse, never better. Sober. And David can talk about that. I love David's story. Justin, you know that. Like this is sober. We are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, I get worse, never better. Never better. Never better. And I'm just going to end here where it says, you know, we've tried every imaginable remedy. That means I'm beyond human aid. This is beyond human aid. My magic magnifying mind isn't even in this realm. It's so beyond. In some instances, there's been brief recovery, grip of a progressive illness, but I get worse. Hey, I think science made a pill, didn't they, you guys? Where you can, Butrin or something you can drink. I don't know what their mad scientists out in 2024. 2024, they're doing weird things in science, but no, this is magical and mystical creator stuff, isn't it, you guys? I don't know. I can't wait to hear what David says, but tried everything. I've tried everything. And so every day I wake up, I smash the idea that I'm like anyone on the planet, that I'm in the grip of a progressive illness and I need to be here forever. I'm weird. I had 2 cups of coffee. We normally do this later in the day.
Thanks, Nikki. Glad you're here. And I also look forward to hearing what David says. So what say you, David?
All right. Thank you so much, Nikki, for your share. Love you, sister. Justin, thank you for your service as always. Bill knew that we wasn't going to like this solution any more than he did. On page 25, it gave us a brief description of what that is. On page 27, he went a little deeper into this spiritual experience. And he knew that if we were real alcoholics, addicts, like he was, that we wasn't going to like this. So he said, let me write a chapter and tell them a little more about alcoholism, not about their drinking, not about their using, not about their sleeping around. Let's talk a little more about alcoholism. And people say, David, I don't know how you come up with all that shit. Well, I read my book, y'all. Page 12. Despite the living example of my friend, there remained in me the vestiges, which is a trace of something that's disappearing, of my old prejudice there, my old idea. The word God still aroused a certain antipathy, which is a feeling of dislike. When the thought, there it is, was expressed that there might be a God personal to me, this feeling was intensified. I didn't like the key word here, idea. I could go for these conceptions on and on and on. So that's why he wrote more about alcoholism, because he knew he wasn't going to like the solution any more than he did. So in step 2, if we're restored to sanity, then insanity must be our problem. It must. Not while I'm drinking or using or acting out or any of that, but hell, while I'm sober. My mind will convince me after a period of time that I've got this now. It's okay. I can start taking a few shortcuts here and there. That nightly review isn't as important as it used to be. I don't need to send as many 10 steps. Now, I don't need to really tell my sponsor about some of that stuff. I'll tell one of my buddies, that'll be good enough. Well, hell, the people I pick are nowhere near recovery, or if they do, they're very new in it. So that doesn't count. I've got to get honest with somebody who's going to call me on my shit. So the definition of sanity is wholeness of mind or complete. It means I'm able to see the truth about what's going on in my life. Now, the definition of an insane mind, insanity, is less than whole. It means I see what's false. And the problem is I make decisions based on a lie, and life becomes pretty lousy. It gets pretty ugly for me. The weird thing is I don't even really know I'm doing this. Now, I have a pretty good idea based on the shit that's going on. I'm not as happy as I once was. I'm not as effective as I once was. But, that'll pass. Thy will be done, So Justin read it. Most of us, it doesn't say all of us, but most of us have been unwilling to admit that we were real alcoholics. No person likes to, key word here, think. See, that's what the hell I have to recover from is my thinking. We are good people who suffer from bad ideas, and that's what we have to recover from. Hell, if you want to quit drinking, I'll tell you how right now. You ain't ever got to come back again. Just put it down and go away. But if you put that down and go away, and then the problem shows up in your mind, angry and pissed off and full of guilt, remorse, shame, you found the real problem. And so it says we've been characterized, I like that word, by countless vain attempts, which means there's no result or it's pretty useless, attempts to prove that we could drink like others. And it just keeps smashing this home, the idea. See, there's the key word, the idea somehow someday I'll control and enjoy. It's the idea I have to recover from. I can't ever say that enough. It's those things that is keeping us sick, keeping us in bondage to the illness, the illusion, the insanity, the conceit, the delusion. Control. All of these are from the emotions. And as Nikki said, most of this is happening, hell, while I'm sober. Illness, incomprehensible. It means, I can't understand what the hell's happening to me. This is so powerful. I mean, this really tells me what the hell is wrong with me. For the first time ever, I was sitting in a meeting in Northwest Arkansas a few months ago, and they read through this chapter, and they talked about their drunkalog and all these war heroes and shit, that all this stuff that had happened to them. And I just told them, I'm not interested in hearing any of that shit. I mean, if that's what you get when you read this chapter, then you've missed the whole boat as far as I'm concerned, because this isn't about our drinking. I mean, yes, it refers to that. And our addict behavior is talking about the ideas behind that. That's alcoholism. Most people say that ism stands for I sponsor me or I self and me. I see that as the self. And the self is made up of ideas, concepts, beliefs, attitudes, prejudice. Look at what that page is talking about. It's talking about control. It's talking about insanity, delusion, inevitably, incomprehensible. These are all emotional terms. And there again, this is what we have to recover from. It says at the top of 31, Justin read it, we have tried every imaginable remedy, and a remedy, the definition of remedy is a cure. And I tried all of those things. I tried church. I tried Indian sweat lodges, which I love very much with all my heart. But if I'm trying to put that in front of this, it's never going to work. Now, once I get this, I add that to it. Oh, man, I've got a hell of a foundation then. It's beautiful. But if I'm trying to put that in front of this, that's not going to work for me. Page 45 and 46 in the book tells me why. So this is just so powerful. And I'm so glad that we're in this, because basically we're not going to be talking a lot about drinking anymore. I mean, we're going to hear some stories of some men, but we want to look behind what's happening to them. One of the things that I always say, and it says it right here, we have lost the ability to control whatever it is, drinking, using, whatever. Now, if I lost that ability, at some point, I had to have. Who the hell got it? If I lost it, who got it? Well, we're fixing to see how the mind works in various many ways to defeat us in this disease and keep us slaves into our addiction. Even after we've been sober for a long time, it'll come back and convince us, a little bit of this isn't going to be too bad, But this chapter will really hammer home that if you are the real alcoholic and all you think you need to do is not drink and go to meetings, good luck. Let me know how your mental health works out doing that. For me, it turned out bad, real bad. So I'm glad to be here, Justin. Thank you so much for your service, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I really look forward to diving in and having this clarified more, that, recovering from the idea, from the thought, from the compulsion, from the whatever it is there, from the self, and being where we go through this. And I'm excited to have that clarified further. I've written down a couple of questions here for each of you. Nikki, the question I have for you, and we'll start off with you, is, you really hit on, I'm different than everybody else. I'm laser designed by the creator to be different from others. In the rooms, we also identify, hey, me too. That happened with me too. I get that. How do you reconcile that, and make that so it's a smooth part in your recovery life and in your life as a whole?
Okay, that's a great question. Well, our book says our behavior patterns vary. And the reason I was late this morning, because I thought we were meeting it a little later, I had booked a call. Someone needed it was going to be a quick call. And he said, he's seeking God. And he says, I don't agree with the church he's going to. And I took him through right here. That's what I said. Every day we have to smash the idea that we're like other people. And remember, nothing else worked for us. No church, no, nothing. We don't fit. But if we look at what we tried, it's all the same. It's all the same. And I said to him, my sponsor is from Cocaine Anonymous. He smashes bourbon and cocaine. I smash men and money. We have lost all the same things, and we've tried all the same things to get better. So that's really, and this because we're going to go on this page, on page 31, our next episode, we're going to read about all the different ways and the human methods to try and do what we do. And we have a great tool, Justin, that, you and I use is it's called the log and loser list. Basically, it's all the logs, all the human aids you've ever tried, and then all the things that you have lost in your addiction. And doesn't matter what addiction, Justin, you've never even tried alcohol, but yet your log, your human aid list, your beyond human aid list, your easier, softer way list, your half measure list is the same as David's, who's drank more than one drink in his lifetime. You understand? And yours is the same as mine. So page 22 says our behavior patterns vary, but the solution is the same, God. So what do I have to do? I have to every day smash the idea that I'm like everybody else. But this book also tells me that God is deep down inside every single one of us. So that means you're God. I've got God in me. You've got God in you. So we're the same there. We've got love deep down inside of us. And the book also has this promise that says that we will learn to love our neighbors as ourselves. That's a promise on page 153. So I can't even remember kind of what the question is. Like, we look for the similarities, but we have so many differences. And that's why I love our book. It says, we read it a couple pages back where it says, let me just turn there on page 28. It says, those of us having religious affiliations will find nothing disturbing. All are welcome. And then on page 46, we'll read literally page 46. I think it says, to us, the realm of the spirit is broad, roomy, all inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding, open to those who earnestly seek. It's open, we believe, to all men, all women, all people. So this is really, that's why I said, he's like, I don't fit in. And I said, that's why we're here in the 12 steps room, because this is where we fit in. And God will show us how to create the fellowship we crave. This is really mystical, magical stuff. So I always say, we look at each other, but more so look for the God inside of everybody. I got to look for the God inside of you, and you've got to look for the God inside of me. I hope that answers the question, Justin.
No, I love it. It does, Nikki. And you took that, we're different then, but we are the same, and we're walking this path together. So thank you so much for helping clarify that. For anybody questioning or wondering, hey, if I'm different than everybody else, how can I fit in any place? So excellent. David, the question I have for you comes from, if insanity is my problem, or insanity has to be my problem. And we've touched on this before, but I want you to dive into this. I don't want to admit that I'm insane, and I don't know anybody that wants to admit they're insane. Talk to me about how maybe a newcomer can be educated on this process or realize the process of insanity and how that looks in these rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Justin. I think that our definition of insanity, when we think of insanity, we think it's somebody that is in the nut house doing the Thorazine shuffle, walking around in a circle, getting hit in the ass with a shot of whatever to calm him down. And, that is one definition of insanity. But the insanity that we're talking about here in the book is believing a lie. When we get to inventory, it tells us that it is an effort to discover the truth. And people will say, the truth about what? And, of course, if I'm, the stock in trade. No, it's an effort to discover the truth about the lie. And that's what this chapter is going to show us over and over. So when I meet with a new man, I tell him we're going to get to an exercise called spiritual terms in this process. And it's on page 47, and we'll go through it eventually here. But for now, what I would like for you to do, talking to the newcomer, is to write down the word insanity and then write down what that honestly means to you in your life. And when they do that and they bring that back, I'm like, all right, well, let's take a different look at this. This is why I read the book with people. It's not because I don't think you know how to read or you're incapable of, but you're reading it at this point in time with a mind that is still asleep to self. And those of us who have awakened has a little broader view of what some of these words and terms mean. So insanity, as it's described, as I always thought, people with the Thorazine shuffle and all that. That's not what this book's talking about. It's talking about the insanity, the insane thinking that I buy into the lie and I take action based on that. And I end up drunk, high, in bed with somebody other than my wife, eating from a buffet for hours. And, whatever. It's the insane idea that somehow someday I can control and enjoy. And unless I have a spiritual experience, that idea will rule my life all the way to my last day. So when I talk to a new man, and if that question is brought up, that's how I carry it out right there. So thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you. And that helps me. I love the idea. In fact, I think that's going to be my takeaway. I'm going to jump into this and I'll share my takeaway first and then ask you guys about your takeaways. Insanity is believing a lie. And I find it so easy in myself to slip into that, believing that, hey, this isn't really a big deal. This isn't really a problem. I'm good. But that insanity is so insidious, and the liar in my head gets so strong, so loud, so strong, and so quick, without me even recognizing it. So I'm grateful for that, because as I accept, as much as I don't want to, that I'm insane, I'm bat crap crazy, and because I believe lies, I think lies are true. I don't know the true from the false. So anyways, that's my takeaway today. Nikki, what's your takeaway from what we've read and talked about?
Well, this is about discovering the truth. This is all about discovering the truth. Now, can you be blotting out the consciousness of your existence while trying to discover the truth? You want the answer to that? That's a big hell no. You can't. So you have to clear away all those, like you said, doesn't matter what the actions, we have to clear these things away to discover the truth. Because as David always said, it's easy just to stop drinking. We just all stop doing these things. But this is about discovering the truth, about not only about who I am, but about who these two beautiful men across the table from me are. The book tells me. Love you guys.
Thank you, Nikki. David, how about a takeaway for you?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Love you too, Miss Nikki. Mine would be delusion. And I think that, I've been sober here a long time, as you guys have as well. And I don't sit here and think today that I'm going to be running up to meet a brother of mine that I sponsor, Dennis T. from Alaska. He's in Oklahoma, and we're going to spend the day together in person. And I don't believe that I could run up there with Dennis and me and him go get a couple of massages somewhere. And that's not the delusion and the belief that I'm talking about. If I'm pissed off at you and I don't deal with that through the 10th step or call you and talk through this and move on, I'll just let that ride. Then eventually someone else is going to show up in other form, and I'm either going to be mad, I'm going to be this. But the delusion, I'm not like you. And it might not have anything to do with our addiction, because we know we're exactly alike when it comes to that. But I'm not like you because you're this or you're that. And I start believing into that shit. At some point, images are going to begin to pop into my head. And I got no defense, because I haven't dealt with what was behind me. All that shit's going to come crashing in on top of me. And that's the lie that usually gets me, the false belief. If we rest on our laurels, the book says we are headed for trouble. It doesn't say we're going to drink, use, act out, sleep around, eat. No, I'm headed for trouble in my emotional life because I haven't dealt with any of this shit. And I'm going to get to thinking more and more and more, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I'll just deal with this as I go. And I can tell you, for this alcoholic addict, the day is going to come when all that shit's going to come to a head. And I'm going to do something stupid. I'm going to do something inappropriate. I'm going to say something I shouldn't have said. I'm going to hurt somebody some way emotionally. And it's probably going to be in the rooms. And oh man, I don't want to apologize. I just won't go back to that meeting anymore. You know what I mean? No, bullshit. All I'm doing is running from the delusion, and eventually it's going to catch up to me. And that's been my experience over and over and over. So my takeaway today is delusion. Watch for the delusion. The definition of a delusion is a false belief. And we're going to see that all the way through this book moving forward. That's what's killing us here. So thank you, Justin.
Thank you, David, man. This has been a very timely conversation for me. And I think the next couple of these will be very timely. I think getting into this more about alcoholism is going to be very powerful for me. And I hope for all of you out in the listening audience. If you are interested in learning more about what David or Nikki are doing, check out the show notes. If you're interested in other RICO 12 podcasts and services that we have going, please check out the show notes. And if you have it in you and you feel desirous to help support RICO 12, please check out the show notes. You can support us financially there. Everybody, this is a way of life that works when we work it. So work it. You are worth it.